I'm worried about X1. More specifically, I'm worried about the members and their mental health. Before I start this video, I want to give a quick trigger warning. So if you don't know, X1 is a new rookie group formed through the show Produce X 101. The way the show works is that the 11 trainees with the most votes out of the 101 are supposed to form a group and debut. Immediately following the broadcast of the final episode, there was a bit of confusion because some trainees that people were expecting to make the final lineup didn't, and there was some speculation as to whether or not the votes were tampered with, but it was mostly just speculation until recently. A couple days ago, it was found out that Mnet, the company who created the show Produce 101, have been under investigation, and circumstantial evidence was found that the rankings were manipulated. Loyal viewers of the show like me were not very surprised by this announcement, but I'm bringing it up because I'm worried about how this revelation is going to affect the X1 members, especially if the real winners of the show are announced. I want it to be very clear that every member of X1 is essential and that the votes were likely manipulated so that the debuting group could have as much longevity and diversity as possible. So if I see any member hating in the comments, I won't hesitate to come after you. It's a known fact that some members of X1 were less expected to be announced than others, and the sad thing is that these members know who they are. I'm worried that the members who were placed in the group will feel inadequate or worry about their placement in the group, which is only human nature. And what about the fans of the trainees who got the votes to make the lineup but weren't chosen? The potential for fan wars has already increased tenfold, and a confirmation or announcement could tear Onets to shreds. This is a huge stressor for a group that's only a bit over a month old. Sunwoo, who's been chosen as X1's leader, is also the leader of his original group Victon. The main reason I have concerns regarding him is because a lot of Alices have told me that Sunwoo was sent on the show to promote Victon, not to become a member of the final group. I'm sure he's grateful for and is doing really well in his position, but Sunwoo is currently 26 years old according to Korean age system, and he'll be required to enlist in the army before he turns 30. This is a problem because he'll have to serve for 2 years, meaning X1 will be missing their leader for a large chunk of their contract. His enlistment would also overlap with when he'd be able to promote with Victon again, and by the time he gets back, the younger members will have started to enlist as well. That means that Victon won't be able to promote as 7 members for 7 years. I'm sure Sunwoo knows this, and I'm sure it's causing him due concern. I have no doubt in his abilities as a leader, but I know this could heavily impact his well-being. As for Lucic, I'm concerned about him because he became the target of a lot of hatred about 3 years ago while promoting with his original group Attention. Lucic was the MC of the show with his co-host Somi, and in a Twitter video they made, Lucic made a gesture that some people confused as him touching her breast. Needless to say, both Lucic and Attention were brutally attacked by both Korean and international fans, and only a forensic investigation of the video was able to clear his name and get the hate to calm down. It's obvious though that this left a deep impression on Lucic. He became quiet and started avoiding the spotlight, which all of his fans know is extremely out of character. It got so bad that he had to take a year-long hiatus because he was having serious mental health concerns, and his hiatus was right at the time when Attention was starting to gain attention. As soon as he, the center, and the face of the group took a break, the group lost a lot of momentum, and by the time Lucic returned, they had to start rebuilding. But it was tougher this time. Without the anticipation of a brand new group, they struggled. I think this clip basically says everything.
처음에는 솔직히 말해서 회사 탓을 좀 했다가 이제 나중 가니까 자책을 좀 많이 하게 되더라고요. 아, 내가 이렇게 부족한가?
Lucic is a lot more open about and in touch with his emotions since his hiatus, and he seems to have matured a lot these days, but I still worry about him getting overwhelmed or what could happen in the event of another scandal. I've been following Lucic for about 3 years, so at this point I feel pretty attached to him and worry about him in a similar way to a friend. And what I'm about to say next is what really had me worried immediately following the finale of Produce X 101. His label mate Jin-hyuk cried when it became apparent that he and Lucic were going to be separated, not because he didn't make the final group. And I think that speaks volumes. The member I'm probably the most worried about is Soonyoung, which a lot of people are probably confused about, because he always seems to be loud and bubbly and cheerful all the time. Most Onits know that Soonyoung is also a music producer under the alias Woods, and he has contributed to a lot of really great songs, including It's Okay, the song that was featured in the finale of Idol Producer. But a lot of people didn't know that he made a lot of songs for himself too, and one song in particular stuck out to me. The song Meaningless features lyrics from a suicide note that he wrote when he was struggling with depression. Anyone who has any sort of mental health issues knows that there is no telling when it could flare up and how badly it can affect you when it does. And one of the scariest things about Soonyoung is the fact that he's the mood maker, so as long as he's smiling and making people laugh, there naturally wouldn't be much of a cause for concern. I worry that if he's going through a tough time, that he'd slap on the joyful exterior and we'd be none the wiser. One thing that really makes me worried is that when his name was announced that he was going to be in the final lineup, there were people swearing and cursing at him, but he put a smile on his face and there was music playing over it, so we couldn't even tell. I worry that if he's going through a tough time, that he'd slap on the joyful exterior and we'd be none the wiser. I hope that he knows to seek help with his members or with us, his fans, if he needs comfort. Honestly, I'm not too worried about Hangyeol or Johan, but I know they've both sacrificed a lot to be a part of X1. I'm so proud of them for finally making their dreams come true through all of their hard work. Now for maknae line. 16 is an awfully young age to make a debut, let alone 14. They're all still in the throes of puberty, so their appearances and voices are going to continue to change a lot, which is scary enough for any teenager without being in the spotlight. And what makes it worse is the fact that each member of maknae line has already received more than their fair share of hate for a number of invalid reasons. These are the kinds of things that tend to stick when you're a teenager and can have detrimental effects on self-esteem in the future. Maknae line are essential to X1, and it's really important that they're all at the top of their game right now at the start of their careers. They all have so much potential, and it'll be great to see it come into fruition, but they're going to need really thick skin to do so. As a matter of fact, X1 as a whole has the potential to take the K-pop industry and the world by storm. With such a strong debut, they've already made a name for themselves as a force to be reckoned with, but it's only natural that things will happen. It's only natural that they'll get compared a lot to Wanna One or Eyes One, and it's only natural that things are going to get hard. The only thing we can do as fans is give them as much love as possible, stream their music, and show them support however we can. Please also give a lot of love to Victon, Uptension, and Unique as well, because they also really need it and they aren't getting it right now. It's the nature of the industry for things to get tough, but we can't turn on each other. Whether you're a one-it or not, a lot of the things I've talked about in this video are very applicable to other groups. We already know that mental health is a very big issue in the industry, so I implore you to be kind to one another. Avoid fan wars, and do your best to support your faves, because they're gonna need it. Thanks for watching!